what's your secret? You got the kind of vibe that leaves me speechless. It could be model, multitasking genius. Yeah, you got it all.
So welcome back to Breakthrough Conversations with Rhoda and Company. So today's conversation, I'm so excited. It's about clarity, confidence, and creating a life and career that truly fit who you are. And I'm excited to welcome Ali Carson to the show. Ali is the founder and CEO of Movere. I love the name. Coaching, a two-time number one international best-selling author, executive coach, leadership facilitator, and talent development expert with more than 20 years of experience helping individuals, leaders, and teams reach their full potential. Although I don't know how you got 20 years in because you only look 20. And so she's also a Gallup certified strength coach. She's a results certified brain-based coach, a global listening intelligence certified coach, and an ICF associate certified coach. Ali brings a unique blend of neuroscience, strength-based development, and a practical leadership expertise to her work. And so before launching her own business, Ali held senior leadership roles in talent development, organizational development, leadership coaching, and high potential development with both healthcare and professional service organizations. So today, she helps high achieving professionals discover their strengths. She leads authentically, and she creates meaningful momentum in their careers and lives. Ali's own journey includes navigating burnout and redefining success, and ultimately building a business dedicated to helping others thrive. Mission work, I love it.
Yes.
So through coaching, workshops, team development, and her Rise and Thrive leadership cohort, she empowers people to uncover who they are and show up with confidence. So today, we're talking about what it really means to define your personal brand and how burnout can disconnect you from it and how to rebuild with intention and authenticity. Ali, welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for saying yes.
Of course.
Yay. So, Ali, you very accomplished, and I'm so honored to be sitting across the table from you.
Oh, thank
and
you.
Actually just really honored to have met you. Because, I really didn't know you. I knew of you, but I had never met you.
I know. We've been in a lot of the same circles for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so you share openly about experiencing burnout. What was happening during that season in your life?
So I've had two spots where I could pinpoint, like, I was absolutely in a period of burnout. The first one was luckily fairly short-lived, and it was very much a situation where I'll say I wasn't honoring my strengths and what they need in that season. The second scenario was a situation where I was kind of doing the typical thing that you hear with burnout, right? I was trying to be everything to everyone. I was trying to be, give 100% to being the mom and 100% to being a great wife, 100% to being a great employee, 100% to being a great leader. And if you've added all that up, the math doesn't math, right? There wasn't enough of me to go around. And it was kind of the typical recipe for burnout. And it hit me. It caught up with me for sure.
Wow. I love that you said you were honoring your strengths. I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. I follow you on TikTok, and you drop a lot of good nuggets.
I try.
And that really resonates.
Yeah.
So you said all these things, trying to give yourself 100% across 5-6 different domains. What were the signs that you ignored at first?
Ooh. Frustration. I was feeling really frustrated in various pieces of my work, and that's not my MO. That's not how I typically operate. So that's something I should have clued into earlier. But also, there was a lack of enjoyment. Like, I just wasn't having fun with the work that I was doing anymore. And again, that's another sign of you're not playing to your strengths. You're not doing the work that is really bringing you joy.
That's so true. If you're not operating in a space where you look forward to going to work, you look forward to doing that work, and it fills your cup.
Yep.
In fact, when you're doing the work, you're energized. And when you're done, you're energized by what you've done, and you're reflecting on all that you've done for the day. If you're not having those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you're likely not paying to your strength.
You're not, absolutely. And you get the Sunday scaries. Yes. Right? You get those times when you're like, ugh, I have to go to work. And not like, I get to go to work. I get to go do this today.
Right. So true. So true. So what did that season teach you about yourself and your work?
So the first season, when I talked about not honoring my strengths, that taught me that I need to feed my strengths. So for example, Achiever is one of my top 5. Achievers are known for having a great deal of stamina, right? We're going to push through. We're going to get a lot of work done. And also really loving a checklist. Like I love to check things off the list and be like, yeah, I got it done. And in that season in particular, I was on a really long-term project that was across the hospital, had lots of departments, lots of different stakeholders, and it was just a big, hairy thing.
Right.
And I was treating it as a big, hairy thing. Like I wasn't, I learned that I needed to break it down into smaller chunks that I could feel like I was checking off the list so that I could feel that sense of achievement more frequently. I also learned, going back to the stamina piece, that I needed to build in meaningful breaks.
Right.
Because I will push through, I will go. And that's not good for me most of the time. And so I needed to be intentional. My boss at the time, we actually put it on my performance review. One of my goals for the year was to take meaningful PTO at least once a quarter.
Wow.
And that was something that she evaluated me on because I wasn't doing it for myself. So I learned that I needed to feed my strengths.
Right.
I also learned in the second scenario, which was probably the harder lesson, I learned that I didn't need anyone else's permission to set boundaries. And not only that I couldn't expect anyone to set boundaries for me. It was on me. I needed to own that.
Right.
And I hadn't been.
That's something where many of us aren't good at, and especially women.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even really start learning about boundaries till probably 10 years ago.
It wasn't even, it wasn't language we used, right? It wasn't part of the conversation. Now it very much is.
Right. I wish I had learned that earlier in my life because I'm the kind of person like you described, high achieve. I think my Strength Finder shows that. And I tend to put others before self.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you had that discovery. What led you to start Movere coaching?
A lot of life. So one part of it was I was coming out of that second season of burnout and that second experience. But I also had, in 2021, my dad passed away after about a 10-year battle with brain tumors. About 18 months later, we lost my mom very unexpectedly. And so a lot of life happening in a very short period of time created some clarity for me that life was too short to be anything but blissfully happy, and I wasn't. And it was on me to make a change. Again, I couldn't rely on anybody else to do that. So I left the role that I was in where I was experiencing a lot of the burnout and started looking at other jobs. And every single one I looked at, I was like, ew, I don't want to do that. That looks awful. I don't want to play that game. And so I had done consulting and coaching on the side for years. And it became very clear very quickly that that was going to be the next best step for me. And so I had the privilege of working with a coach at the time who helped me sort through what I wanted to do and what I wanted this business to look like. And I launched Movere in November of 2023.
Awesome.
It's been the best thing that I ever could have done. I'm my worst boss for sure. But it's been the best move.
Awesome. I'm so happy for you. And something you said that I hope our listeners picked up on is that life is short.
Yes.
And you should be doing things that align to your purpose, fill your bucket. And I truly believe that those are the things that we're meant to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it's really special when you find that and when you're in a position where you can just pursue that path.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It does. So what was the hardest part, though, of betting on you?
Overcoming the fear of uncertainty. I had always been in typical W-2 jobs where I had a steady paycheck and I had some autonomy in my work, but also like some clarity and goals and things. And there's lots of playbooks for how to start your own business, but there's none that says like, this is what you should do, Ali. And so having to go through the uncertainty was a big step for me. One I'm very glad I did, but that was a big one.
Good. And I'm in that same place. Like I'll be like, oh, I can do my own thing full time, but that doesn't always equal full-time pay.
No,
especially in the beginning when you're building. And so then I say, okay, I need to find, and then I'm like back and forth. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So a coach is important to ask. I want to go off script a little here and ask you, what would you say are the benefits of having a coach?
I am a firm believer, and I'm biased, I will admit this. I'm a firm believer that everyone should have a coach because a coach is someone who's going to come. They're not going to tell you what to do. Right. They're going to ask you questions to help you unlock what you already know and help you get out of your own way. And sometimes hold the mirror up to you to say, okay, you're saying you want to do this, but you're acting like this. And those things aren't congruent. And so sometimes it's really helpful to have a neutral third party who can look at that and kind of call you on your stuff a little bit.
Yes. I love an accountability partner.
Yes.
Yes. So what did you have to unlearn to become the business owner that you are today?
I feel like I'm unlearning things every day, Rhoda. Probably the biggest one was that there's no one right way to do things. When I was launching my business, and part of it's my personality, part of it's my business background, right? I wanted to do a lot of research, and I had informational interviews with as many people as I could who were doing similar work and had similar businesses to what I wanted to do. And they were so amazing and so generous and thoughtful with sharing their input. But I asked them all, like, what did you do when you first launched your business that worked really well? What do you wish you had done that, given the gift of hindsight, you would do differently? What did you do that you're like, that's a terrible idea, no one should do that? And I got so much great information, but what stood out to me was it was all so different. Everyone built their business in a slightly different way. And so while I was kind of looking for like, here's the checklist of what Ali needs to do to be successful, there really wasn't one. And so it was giving myself that permission to say, we're going to figure out the Ali way and we're going to build it. And it may work. It may be awesome. And I will probably learn a lot of lessons along the way, which I have.
And so now others that are looking to start their business and build their business can come to you for that advice. And they don't have to go in and thinking there's a perfect blueprint. The perfect blueprint is your blueprint.
Exactly. The way Ali does things, the way Rhoda does things, we're each going to bring our own unique flavor to things, which is part of the beauty of it. And I know I work with a lot of coaches, and I love having a lot of coaches in my community that I can refer others to because I'm not going to be everybody's favorite flavor of ice cream. And so being able to say, this might not be a good fit, but here's someone who I think would be a really great fit for you is really powerful, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. So you offer a workshop on personal branding. How do you define personal brand in like simple terms?
2 ways. First, I think about what do you want to be known for and what do you want to be known as? And then the second piece that I think sometimes people overlook is what is the impact you're having on others? What is their experience with you?
And do they align?
Do they align? Are they the same thing? Yeah, that's a good question.
That's so true. That's so true. So how does burnout disconnect people from their brand?
I love this question so much. When someone is in burnout, especially chronic burnout, right? They've been living there for a long time. They're in survival mode, right? Their brain is actually stuck in the amygdala hijack, where they physically are incapable of tapping into their PFC, their prefrontal cortex, and tapping into the executive functioning, decision-making portion of their brain because the amygdala is in charge, because it's that constant threat response that their body is falling into. And so when you're in that survival mode, you're probably not living into your ideal personal brand because your style under stress is going to come out. And a lot of times our style under stress isn't necessarily what we want our ideal brand to be.
What are some of the symptoms that could indicate that we're in that fight or flight mode?
You get the reptilian brain actually takes over in your head. And so the style under stress or the more reactive behaviors tend to start to come out. That looks differently in everyone because we all kind of have our natural tendencies that may be different. But typically what you'll see is someone is behaving different than usual. They may be a little shorter with people than they usually are. They may not be as thoughtful in some of their communication. I guess it's probably the PC way to say things. You kind of see some just differences in their behavior.
That's something to keep in mind too for our listeners. So where do most people get it wrong when it comes to their brand?
I think the biggest place where people go wrong is that they don't build the brand before they need it. They wait until they're looking for a new job or they're thinking about launching a new podcast or a new series or whatever it is. And then they start thinking like, oh, people need to know who I am. I need to know that. So they don't start it until they actually need it, is
Mhm.
one way they go wrong. And then also, people fail to recognize that we're always building our brand,
Mhm.
right? We are always having an impact on others. And if you're not being intentional with what that is,
Right.
it may not be the impact that you
That
want
you
to
want
have.
to have.
Exactly. So
Yes.
there's an intentionality to it. I
Mhm.
think sometimes people are just kind of like, we're going to let the chips fall where they
Right.
may.
Mhm.
And that doesn't always lead to the brand that you're trying to create.
I remember this was in 2007. I had just got hired at a large healthcare system,
Mhm.
and my leader on my very first day, sitting in his office, said, "What do you want to be known for?"
Yep.
And I'm so grateful that he asked that, because that is really when I started to clue in on, yeah, you do have to be intentional
Mhm.
about what you want to be known for. And I said, why do you ask? And he said, because when I'm in meetings, I'm going to say, Rhoda, you looking for somebody to get her done? Rhoda
Oh,
is
that's
it's a
powerful.
person that'll get it done. And it really worked. Like
Mhm.
my reputation in this very large organization permeated and went before me. And that led to my career in HR. One
Yeah.
of the new CHROs they hired called me, and she
Mhm.
said, I've been asking around who are the shakers and the movers, and your name just consistently comes up.
Oh, I love that so much. I got chills
Yeah,
over here. That
yeah.
is so I love that they asked that question
Mhm.
because so many people don't stop and
Right,
think about, well,
right,
what do I want to be known for?
right.
We just don't take the time to do it.
Yes. So ever since then, I've been paying it forward, and I ask all of my direct reports that question too, and then I, help groom them towards
Mhm.
that. Yeah. So, what are the first steps someone should take to define their brand with clarity?
Ooh, I love that.
Mhm.
Well, first thing is you have to get clear on what is that ideal reputation that you want
Mhm.
to have for the various audiences, right? So think about, what do you want to be known for and known as to your direct reports,
Yes.
to your peers, to maybe people in the industry, right? What are
Mhm.
the clients or customers? What do they think about you?
Right.
And getting clear on what that is, because it may be different for
Mhm.
different people
Mhm.
or different groups. Once you have that clarity, then I think it's really helpful to stop
Right.
and think, where am I at today?
Mhm.
So if here's where I want to go, where am I at today? And what is that gap? Because then that starts to inform your action plan, right? What do you need
Yes.
to do to close the gap
Mhm.
and move yourself closer to that
Mm-hmm.
ideal
That's
reputation?
true.
Mhm.
And while you were talking, I started thinking about, wow, our brand can evolve too, because when I was earlier in my career, it was Rhoda Get Her Done Banks.
Uh-huh.
But now that I'm older and more seasoned, I wouldn't want to be known as that as much. And the reason what I'm saying with that is I want context around it, is that I still can achieve a lot, but I achieve it through others,
Yes.
because now I've learned to lead leaders.
Yes.
And the other thing is, I had to learn this, is that organizations, you have to meet them where they are.
Mhm.
So what worked at one company may not work at another. So
Absolutely.
you have to take the time to learn and read the tea leaves
Mhm.
and meet them where they are. I tell, I'm interviewing a lot now because I'm looking for my next opportunity. And I tell the people I'm interviewing with, whoever selects me, they're going to get the best version of Rhoda Banks, because I've
Absolutely.
learned so much over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, and you've gone from doing the work to setting the
Yes.
strategy and the vision and rallying the troops.
Right.
And that's a very different brand. I love that you
Yeah.
called that out, because I think sometimes people think like,
Mhm.
oh, if I write it down, like it's
Right.
finite, it's
Right.
done.
Yes.
And that's not natural. That doesn't
Yes.
align with how your career evolves. So as
Right.
your career evolves, your brand should evolve along
Mhm.
with it.
Yeah. The other thing I want to call out is, it's one thing to say, I want to be known as this human-centric leader
Mhm.
and that I care about people, but your actions contradict that.
Mhm.
Just because you say that's what your brand is and that's what you want to be known as, and you're doing something opposite of
Yep.
that, doesn't make it so. So your brand is going to be the experience that you're leaving people with.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have to audit and see, like, do
Yes.
these things align?
Yes.
Am I showing up the way that I say I
Mhm.
want to show up, or is
Right.
there a gap?
Right.
That's huge.
Be intentional.
Mhm.
So tell us about your Rise and Thrive leadership cohort. Who's it for?
Rise and Thrive, this is my baby. This is my
Mhm.
passion project. This was something that was on my heart for many years,
Mhm.
and then when I launched my own business, I was like, wait, I can make it actually
Right.
happen now. So it is for high achieving professionals,
Mhm.
women, and people who are feeling stuck, who are feeling like maybe they're ready for a transition or they're in transition.
Yes.
And people who are looking for that accountability and that community to make some meaningful change.
Yes.
Because what we do in the program, we take the participants through a journey to really help them in a group coaching format. So they're in there with some peers, help them understand and own their own strengths. I call it Own Your Awesome.
Yes.
So they understand they own their own strengths. And then they identify what are the limiting beliefs that are at play that are probably holding me back in this situation. What are the derailers, the places where I'm getting in my own way? Most of the time, those are things that helped you get to where you are now. They've made you successful in the past, kind of like what you talked about, right? Get her done.
Right.
So you were that person, but then now it may be getting you in their way to getting to the next level. So what are those derailers? And then the most important part at the end is how do you create change that aligns with how your brain naturally works, again, bringing in some of the neuroscience, so that you can sustain the change.
Yes.
And it's not something that you go when you like finish the program and then you
then
try a
go
couple
forget
things
about
out.
it.
Yeah. And then it goes back on a shelf and you don't actually sustain it.
Love it. Love it. How long have you been doing that program?
I've done it, well, since I guess 2024 was my first cohort. So a couple years.
What are some of the transformations or changes that you've seen your participants experience?
I love this question so much. And actually, I went back and looked at some of the data from participants because I was like, well, I know what I think happens, but what do they say? And what I found in looking through that data is they stop looking outward for permission, for validation, and for certainty. And they start trusting themselves because they've done the work, right? They've gotten the clarity about who they are. They know that deep in their core. They are confident about what they bring to the table. And they have practical strategies and tools that they can use to create and sustain the changes that they want to make.
I love it. And I love anything that's like inside out.
Yep.
Because I believe when it's inside out, it has the propensity to outlive. It is sustainable.
Yes. And that's one of the things that actually participants have told me is so different than a lot of the leadership development. A lot of the leadership development efforts tend to focus on your work leading others.
Yes.
They kind of tend to assume that you have the leading self piece down, and you may or may not. And so this program really focuses on how are you leading yourself first.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So why is community important when developing as a leader? Like it takes a village.
It takes a whole village. I think leadership can be really lonely. And I think that's something that people don't fully appreciate until you're in the seat.
Right.
And it can be helpful to know you're not in this alone.
Right.
Other people have been in your shoes and probably have some really good advice for how to handle that situation that you're dealing with. And I think it's also helpful to have that sounding board, especially if you've moved from being a peer to a boss and you're now managing your former peers. It's a really tough transition because there's also relationships that are different. And the people that you used to go to vent to or to run ideas by, you can't go to them in the same way anymore.
No.
So you've got to create that new tribe and those new peers that you can reach out to. And so having that community can just be such a huge factor in reducing a little bit of that loneliness.
That is so true. That took me back to when I was first promoted to my first people leader role. And the people who I was originally peers with, I now became their leader and really lost a friend in one of them because she was like, and she was the one that encouraged me to apply. And she just couldn't get over it. Yeah. And it was very lonely. I remember that. So that is so true. It does. You do need a community that you can vent to because I was always taught, do not vent down.
Yes. Right. And so it's like, okay, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to not take, have this conversation with this group, but then where do I go with it?
Where do I go?
And sometimes leaders are also hesitant to have those conversations with their boss.
Right.
Because they don't want people to feel like, well, I can't hang. I can't handle this. So I've got to figure it out on my own. Well, no.
Right.
Find your community. Find the people that can help you.
Definitely need that because going to your boss, some leaders do not have the ability not to use it against you.
Yeah.
So it jades their perception of you. So, Ali, what are 2 or 3 things someone can do today to strengthen their personal brand?
Okay. Some of this we've already talked about a little bit. So first I say, get clear on what you want your brand to be. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Think of it as you're literally writing it in pencil, right? You can erase, you can change it. But what do you want your brand to be? And Then secondly, be able to articulate that to others. Find language around it that you love, that you can repeat, that you can remember, so that if you're somewhere and somebody gives you an opportunity to give your 30-second introduction, you have something meaningful
it's like
to
your
say.
elevator pitch.
Exactly. Have your little elevator pitch. And then third, and I've mentioned this already, is do that audit. So think about where are the spaces that you're showing up in person, online, whatever it is, and are people having a consistent experience with you in all of those places? Is there that congruency across how you're showing up in those different spaces? Because if there's not, people aren't going to know which brand to believe.
Right. That's so true. I love that. Hope you all captured those nuggets. So what does, Ali, a strong, authentic brand actually do for your career?
I think it differentiates you, right? This is how you articulate to people who you are, what they can rely on you for, and how that is different than the competition, especially in a tough job market like we have right now. You've got to be able to articulate that. But I think it also helps you begin to build trust with others. And again, because of that congruency, if they see the way you show up in person and the way you are online and the way you are in videos or whatever it is very congruent. They're like, oh, wait, I can trust that. I know that Ali is going to be the same regardless of the situation that I'm running into her in. And that helps to build the trust, which, as you know, is so critical in your effectiveness in your career.
That is so true. Yeah, that trust is important. So, Ali, I'm going to move to what I call rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 3 questions I want you to answer with the first thought that comes to mind. One word that defines your personal brand.
Momentum.
Momentum, which I learned it's like a root word for the name of your business.
Yeah, that's actually how I named my business, was because of momentum.
Yes, love it. So a belief that people need to let go of to show up confidently.
The belief that everyone else has it all figured out.
Yes.
Let it go. Just let that go.
That's so true. And one action someone can take today to build their brand.
Define it. You have to know what, you can't steer your ship just in any direction, right? You have to know what direction you're trying to head.
This is a funny analogy, but it aligns. When my husband and I want to go out to dinner, he never wants to make the decision of where.
Oh, bless his heart.
He always asks me, we get in a car, he's just driving. Well, where are we going? And so we're spending time asking where we're going. We could be going in the wrong direction. We need to go in the west. We going east. To your point, if you don't have it defined and don't have that clarity, then you don't have a final destination. So it's impossible.
Your efforts are moving in a direction, but it may not be in the direction that you actually want to go that's going to move you closer to your goals.
Yes. Ali, we're getting close to closing out, but I would love for our listeners and or viewers to understand what services you offer and how can they get in touch with you should they want to secure services from you.
Awesome. So I think of my work in 4 buckets. I do one-on-one executive and leadership coaching. I do team effectiveness work where I tell people I help grownups remember how to play nice in the sandbox. So I use my Clifton strengths and listening intelligence work there. I do leadership development, workshops, keynotes, custom solutions in that space. And then the talent development consulting is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. It is often an extension of the HR team or the leadership team coming in to provide some additional capacity and or expertise in the talent development space, whether that's talent management and succession planning, creating leadership competencies, facilitating offsite retreats. It can look a lot of different ways, which I love because I love the variety. So those are the services. In terms of how to get in touch with us, you can find us on the web at www.moverecoaching.com, which we'll put in the show notes as well. Also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and as you mentioned, now TikTok. This is a new adventure for me. I'm learning a lot.
You look like a pro. You look like a pro.
Oh, I thank you. We're kind of in the fake it till you make it stage at this point, but it's a lot of fun.
It is. It is. And I like that they're just snippets. Just enough information. So thank you. Ali, this has been delightful. Thank you so much. Thank you for believing in yourself, betting on yourself, being an example for me and other women to know that if you truly follow your strengths and your passions, that path is going to make its way for you. You just need to lean in. So I really appreciate you being here. So all this was really practical and needed. So you reminded us that your personal brand is not something you create overnight. It's something you uncover, you own, and you live it consistently.
Mhm.
I love that you talked about auditing it and making sure that you are aligned and everything is congruent. So if you've been feeling stuck, unclear, or disconnected, this is your opportunity to get back to who you are and how you want to show up. We'll share how to connect with Ali, as she stated in the show notes. She's already articulated that. If you were listening, learn more about her workshops and explore the Rise and Thrive cohort in the show notes as well. And remember, clarity creates confidence. Confidence drives action. I'll see you next time on Breakthrough Conversations with Rhoda and Company.
Hey, what's your secret? You got the kind of vibe that leaves you speechless. It could be model multitasking genius. Yeah, you got it all. Hey, what's your story? A kick-ass mom and 40 under 40. It's soccer practice in your high heel glory. Yeah, you do it all.